Thanks for joining us for the Long Island Sound podcast. Each week we explore new music and dive deeper with the artists and their stories behind the music. Please subscribe and rate and review us wherever you stream this podcast. Here's your host, Steve Yusko.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode. Today I have the opportunity to speak with David Karp, the lead singer of Live Vinyl. He's a singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist. We get into 4 of his songs in this episode, as well as his strategy to attack the Muse and write songs. Let's check out his song, Say Something.
I wrote myself a million letters, tried to make myself feel better, but nothing that I did seemed to have a point. I took my car and drove out westbound. The radio would not make a sound, and everything I had, I didn't want it anymore. Better to say something than listen to nothing. The gray and the blue have crept into my head. I whittle away the 4 long day, keep wondering what it was I meant to say, what it was I meant to say. The harbinger of Main Street prisons is telling me of grand omissions. All the things I said had fallen on deaf ears. I took my life and headed southbound. I couldn't hear the Long Island sound. And when I looked away, you said that I should stay. Better to say something than listen to nothing. The gray and the blue have crept into my head. I whittle away the 4 long day, keep wondering what it was I meant to say, what it was I meant to say. Better to say something than listen to nothing. The gray and the blue have crept into my head. I whittle away the 4 long day, keep wondering what it was I meant to say, what it was I meant
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Long Island Sound podcast. This is Steve Yusko, and my guest today is David Karp of Live Vinyl. And we're going to explore David's music and his background and have some really good conversation. And welcome to the Long Island Sound podcast, David. Good to have you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so this is actually round two. So we're good to re-kickstart it out in the new year. And I met David at a block party of all places, and his band was playing. And, when you hear good music, you always have that curiosity of, gee, what's the story with this artist behind the music? And the music was great. It was a great block party. So Dave, how long have you been playing music?
Yeah, for a long time. So I started as a teenager, during high school, I was in bands, and I started on drums and singing. And then in college, that's when I started to pick up more like playing guitar because I wanted to write songs. So, you okay?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Yeah, and it's kind of difficult to write a song on the drums. So I needed something that was like a piano or a guitar. So I went to guitar, and started writing then, and playing in bands for almost all my life since I was a teenager.
So what I find interesting about what's great about the guitar, you can learn 3 chords and know 1,000 songs, if you learn the famous 3 chords. And some guitarists will just jump off of that, and others will get heavy into theory, music theory. So having played the drums earlier, what was your approach? Did you have that music theory behind you going into it?
Well, actually, because I played drums beforehand, I was very rhythmic with my guitar playing. So it's I'm much more of a good rhythm guitarist than a lead guitarist by far, and it definitely affected the way that I played. It's sort of like not comparing myself to Dave Grohl, but he started out as a drummer and then went to guitar, and that definitely affected the way his style of playing. You do tend, I think, when you come as a drummer to guitar, to be more rhythmic in the way that you play. But, I took some lessons here and there, picked up stuff from friends, and did stuff on my own. And now there's tons of content online, YouTube videos showing you how to do all sorts of stuff, which is great. So I wish I had all this stuff earlier. I'd probably be a much better guitar player now, but it's great. With the content that's out there is really, really helpful.
Yeah, that's the same thing happened with me. Although I had some piano as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
and the piano was in the TV room. And when Dad got a little sick and tired of me playing scales, the movie went on, which is probably not a good thing. But what really helped me was YouTube. If I could see somebody do something and I can emulate it, and guitar tabs were fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Try to say, okay, I can do this. But I got a question for you. There's that point in a musician's life where they're playing other people's songs,
right?
And then they jump into, hey, the muse is hitting me, and I want to write songs. How did that happen with you?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I guess I say like late teens when I started to fiddle around actually on piano.
Okay.
Because that was what I had available to me when I was in some bands back then. And every once in a while I'd introduce something with some interesting chord changes and a melody, and then I'd leave it to everybody else to figure out their parts. So the guitarist would put his lead parts on top. The bassist could do what he wanted, whatever sounded like it fit. And usually I was on drums and singing it. So yeah, that's basically how it started. But I don't know, does that answer the question? I'm not sure if I answered the question.
That sounded pretty good to me. So let me ask you this. What was getting into a band, and you played, I assume, in several bands, as I hit my microphone there. What was your one big influence that said, hey, I want to be like this person or this band?
Yeah, well, probably get this answer a lot from a lot of musicians. The Beatles, of course, are a big influence. But, also, growing up, I just loved, well, now they call it classic rock. Back then, it was just rock. But, I loved all those bands, like Led Zeppelin, and I like to listen to the Kinks and the Rolling Stones and all that stuff. But, I think over the years, though, even though I really love that stuff, I love the new stuff that comes out too. I think it's always refreshing to hear, new artists and new songs just I think it like I sort of need that. I need to hear something new, and then I like to go back to the old stuff
Right.
too. But it's just nice to hear new stuff that really, you know that excitement you get when you hear a song you really like and you just want to play it over and over again.
Right.
I
Right.
love that feeling, and so if I can find something like, wow, I love this, I want to hear this again. That's such a good feeling to have, and you look forward to hearing it again. But yeah, so
Yeah, I grew up in the 70s, and now looking back at it, we had, the singer-songwriters from the 70s, the Laurel Canyon,
yeah,
the late David Crosby, who passed away, and Joni
right.
Mitchell, and all these people, and Jackson Browne, and the
Mhm.
Eagles in the background. But then you had arena rock, with the Stones and the Kinks, and Southern rock with Marshall Tucker Band and the Allman Brothers, and
Right.
really it came full circle. So it was a real fertile field, at least for my listening. And I had the opportunity where I have older sisters who were 9 years older than me, so I had their record collection to pull the Beatles and the Beach Boys from. But you keyed in on a good point that kind of hits home with me is, as you get older, you can get into that reminiscing cycle
Mhm.
about music that you grew up with, and there's a comfort there, there's a familiarity with that.
Yeah, right.
But then there's that yearning of, I want something new that's talking about what's happening today, whether it's social challenges or wherever your head's at, and finding the sources to get that music. I'm yapping too much, but I just want to tell you a quick story.
No. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
just interviewed Larry Duck Dunn, who is with WLIR. And
Right, Larry the Duck.
yep, and he'll be coming out soon. And there's a great, if anybody should look this up, there is a documentary, took 7 years to do, on WLIR. And what I didn't know
I
at
saw
that
that.
time,
It was great.
yeah, they brought progressive. They changed their what they were doing and became a progressive rock station. They want to be different, and they were just a tiny radio station, but they were really instrumental in bringing U2 to light here in the United States, which was unbelievable.
Yep.
And nowadays, I find it very rare that AI, isn't telling you what you should be listening to because you like something else. We need that human influence and those disc jockeys to say, hey, this is something different that's not charting, but I think you're going to like it. I guess that's a desire that you and I share.
Yeah, and I think you just reminded me, like when I was a teenager, watching MTV was a huge influence as well, and that really actually opened up to a whole new genre, like that new wave stuff that wasn't quite mainstream yet, but it was great music and a lot of good stuff out there. And it was just so much fun to hear all that.
Right. And now
It was just great.
we have so many different channels, Twitter and Twitch and all these different things that you get a snippet of a song, even if it's 30 seconds, and it's trying to grab our short attention spans these days to introduce us to music. So there is, I see a lot with the younger artists, they're very heavy into the social media aspect of things. And
Yeah.
they have to, it seems as though they have to join with someone creative who can document this and sow the seeds of their music out there for people to get a hold of it.
Absolutely.
So let's do this. Our audience heard the song Say Something when we came into the program. Tell me a little bit about how that Muse hit you and how you developed that song.
Yeah, that's a good question. So basically, I wrote that song a long time ago, but it's really stood the test of time. It still seems to be, one of those songs that I'll play out occasionally, either with my band or sometimes when I play out, solo acoustic gigs and stuff. And it's really a song about, because when I wrote it, I was about in my mid to late 20s, and I think especially that time of your life, you're still trying to figure out what you want to do and what kind of life you want, what you want to do for a living, who you want to be with, where you want to live, and that song sort of expressed that sort of frustration with that, and, is this what I want? Is that what I want? Do I want to be here? Do I want to be there? Talking about it though, thinking about it is talking about it with friends or family or something like that is always better than just trying to figure it out by yourself. So I think that's sort of what it's about.
Let me ask you this. How did So how did it? I know you said you wrote the song several years ago, but how did the process? Let me see this. How did the process work for that song back then, many years ago, and how you approach songwriting now?
Yeah, so the process for me is typically we'll write the chord progression with a melody on top that I usually will just hum, or maybe I'll just sort of make up lyrics, sort of nonsensical lyrics on top. Sometimes they'll stick. Sometimes those lyrics will stick, and I'll use them and I'll change them around so it makes more sense. Sometimes I have to end up changing them completely because they just don't make any sense. They don't seem to fit. But definitely the music, the chord progression and the melody comes to me first.
Okay.
And then afterwards, I'll try to figure out, well, what is it that I'm trying to say with this? What sort of lyrics fit the feel of that music.
Gotcha. Now, does that?
But I'd say that today is the same.
It sticks with you today
for me. Yeah, I'd say it's the same process today. It's usually the chord progression and the melody that'll hit me first. But yeah, like I said, sometimes the lyrics come right away and it's really easy and they fit really well and I'll keep them. And other times I just have to change them, a lot because it just doesn't work for me.
Right.
But that's basically how the process works. And usually what I'll do is these days, I used to take out a tape recorder, but now you have our smartphones, which were great for recording ideas. Because sometimes they'll hit you in the strangest places, and it's nice to have something handy to sort of either just hum a melody into the phone and record it and then, flesh it out later. Or sometimes, if you're home, it's just nice to be able to pick it up and then get the guitar too, and then flesh it out a little bit better than that. But, it's sort of, you never really know when it's going to hit you. There's actually one time you just made me remember. There was one time I actually woke up one morning. This really happened to me, having a melody in the dream that I had, and then I remembered it when I woke up, and I haven't fleshed it out yet into a song because I'm not sure if I even still like it, but I thought that was pretty funny because in the dream it sounded like this great song that I had known for a long time. I felt like I had heard it before, and then of course I woke up and I'm like, I never heard that before. I don't know what that is at all. So that was kind of funny.
It's interesting. It's like dreaming in deja vu, right? There's a familiarity of something that you haven't really fleshed out. But let me throw something on its head. Have you ever written something or read something and kind of borrowed it and throw it into a song, or are you wired in that way that it's really the melody and the music part of it that really drives your process?
Yeah, I'd say it's the melody that really drives the process for me. I like something that is catchy. I like a catchy part to a song that I can sort of latch onto, and something that's pleasant to hear over and over again. A nice chorus, or sometimes it's just the chord changes itself in the verse that really get me. For some reason, some chord changes, for some reason they just have something to them that really draw you in, whereas other ones maybe just like a different feeling altogether. But yeah, for me, that melody is probably the most important part, though.
Okay, so now you've got a song that's flushed out, because I'm really interested in the process. Everybody does it differently.
Yeah.
Today so now you've got the song. You're pretty proud of yourself at this point. You've kind of flushed it out. What's the next progression for you to record it, mix it? I mean, what do you do this? Do you do it home, or what do you do with it?
Yeah. So we'll usually, if my intention is to get a good recording of it, usually I'll do a sort of a first draft recording of it on like an 8-track recorder or something like that. But then after that, if I like the way that sounds, then I might bring it to I have friends who have studios built in their homes, and my friend Pete has a great studio built in his house, and we might flesh it out more there and take our time doing each track carefully. Usually I'll if there's other musicians who are coming in to play their parts, I'll usually give them some sort of leeway in how they interpret what their part should be. And sometimes they come up with some great ideas that I haven't thought of before, and it fits the song really well, and other times it might need to be changed a little bit. But the other nice thing is that I play a lot of different instruments, so I can do a lot of the tracks myself. I can do the singing, I can do the drumming, I can do the guitar, I can even do some bass, but I also play a little bit of harmonica. and some other percussion. So that's nice to be able to do all that. If I want to, I can just do all those parts myself.
Well, what's nice to hear also is that you're open to the framework. You lay down the framework and you're open to the influences that the other musicians bring in.
Yeah.
And that really kind of gives them artistic freedom, I would assume, to put their stamp on it, their signature on it to a certain degree.
Yeah, I think I think it's nice if you can do that. And, I think some people might be a little bit more protective about something they wrote, and they want to be like, no, that's not what I had in mind. You got to do it like this. That's okay to have some direction, but I think you have to be a little open to other ideas, because, a lot of times I think those other ideas that get layered on top just give the song a lot more dimension, and it just adds to, the whole enjoyment of the whole process.
Interesting. So, hey, let's talk about the second song you brought to the table, which is Home at Night. Tell me a little bit about that, and then into the break, we'll let our audience have a listen to it.
Yeah, I guess, well, with Home at Night, it's just really about people who really, on the outside seem okay, but on the inside, when the day is over and they have to sort of live with their own, I guess, personality or whatever issues they're dealing with, really in reality aren't so happy, and when they're home at night by themselves, or with their own thoughts,
right,
it can be a little bit harder to deal with that person that they are on the outside. So
nice.
I guess that's basically what I had in mind.
That's a good gist to it. All right, let's listen to Home at Night. I'll be right back after the song. Check it out, everyone.
He was a big, strong man.
Hey, everybody. This is Steve Yusko, and I'm back with David Karp. David Karp also has a band called Live Vinyl that you should check out. They play around the island. And hey, tell us how Live Vinyl came about, David. I'm interested in that.
Yeah, so my friend Pete, who I've known for many years, we used to work together at a company in Melville together for a while. And that's actually when we started doing some recording together way back then. And then, so on and off through the years, we've been, playing together occasionally and recording music together, some of my stuff, some of his stuff.
Nice.
And then a few years ago, he had an opportunity to play at my father's place with his band, Live Vinyl, which I wasn't playing with at the time. But he said, they want to hear originals, and I would like to do some of your originals and some of mine. I said, that sounds like fun. Let's do it.
Sure.
So anyway, this was right before the pandemic.
Oh, wow.
And literally, this was like the day before things,
So is this when my father's place was at the Roslyn Hotel?
Yes.
Before he moved to the Metropolitan. Got it. Okay.
That's exactly right. And
Epi Epstein.
Epi, that's right. And so that was fun to play there. It's a well-known music venue. So that was exciting to play there, and played some of my originals, which was a lot of fun to do. And so that's when I started playing with him again and the band that he had put together. And then after that, gradually, as things started to open up again, we started playing different venues. At first, mostly outdoor stuff, because I guess that was considered safe,
right?
Because it's outside. And so anyway, so it just sort of kept going. And then ever since then, we've been playing together, and it's a 6-piece band. So it's I sing lead, but we also have a great female lead vocalist, Grace Nazario, and Pete's lead guitarist. And we've had some other people in and out of the band. Right now on bass, we got Johnny Molinari. On keyboards, we got Bob Belly. We got Andy Zed on drums. And occasionally we have substitutes come in and out,
Sure.
because not everybody's available all the time, because we all have full-time jobs, right. In addition to playing out. But we play all over the place. We've been playing quite a few times down in Baldwin at Sonny's House, Tiki Joe's, a couple other places all around. And actually Belmore, I think it's the Belmore Playhouse it's called, is reopening. It's going to have lots of different bands there, so we'll be playing there. And so we've been playing together ever since right before the pandemic, and then up until now.
Yeah, it seems that things are starting to open up now. I think there was a pent-up demand for live music. It's been my experience. I've also experienced this with bands. Sometimes they like to stay local to where the band members live. So I don't know if you guys are all Nassau County guys or whatever, and you tend to lean towards the clubs and the gigs that you're familiar with, or do you go all over the place?
Well, we'll go pretty much all over the place. We actually played a gig in Coney Island.
Really?
Late last, I think it was Memorial Day weekend, actually. That was actually a lot of fun, but it was just getting there and back home again that was kind of difficult because of all the traffic on the Belt Parkway.
Brooklyn sucks. If you don't live in Brooklyn, to get there, in and out, forget it. You got to plan your whole day around.
Actually, being there, playing there was fun, but getting in and out was was a pain. But yes, most of the guys are from Nassau, so we actually tend to play there more. But we do Suffolk venues as well, and the solo gigs that I do on and off here and there are mostly Suffolk County stuff.
Gotcha. So where can we find your music, David?
Yeah, so the best place to listen to it is you could stream it on Spotify, but it's also available on iTunes, and you can purchase on iTunes, I guess, if you wanted to. So that's where some of the music. But if you also go to livevinyllive.com,
okay,
you'll see some videos, bands, different venues we've played, and lots of different songs. And there's also a calendar of different places that we'll be playing. So if you wanted to, you could sign up for the newsletter there if you want, and get notification on when and where we'll be next. And by the way, the music is a nice wide variety of rock, dance, and pop. So it's a little bit of everything for everybody. We like to keep things nice and energetic, get people dancing if that's possible, because that's always a lot of fun to have a crowd that appreciates the music and is into it. That's what makes it all worthwhile. Because we're definitely not doing the money. So
I was speaking to one of my guests, a guy named Kerry Carney, and he's a slide blues guitar player. But he says, you know what? I really make the effort to play danceable stuff because, I have to play to a full audience. I don't just want to play to blues aficionado guys who just want to sit back and hear the blues, because the gals, for the most part, want to dance. And I remember with our little beach club, and I had a friend play, and they said, but he's going to play stuff we can dance to. And I said, yeah, of course. And then, of course, I spoke to Mike, and I said, Mike, you got to play. He goes, no, we play all upbeat stuff. And that's the key to it. I tell you, I can only imagine, because I'm a hack guitarist, but when you have that audience that interacts with you with dancing or singing back to you the songs, it's just got to really build on itself, you know?
Yeah, it's great you really do feed on that energy, and it really is just such a nice connection to make that connection with the audience.
Right.
And they're enjoying themselves and you're enjoying yourself. And it's just such this great feeling, this great flow. And it's that's why I tell people there's nothing like going out and seeing live music. It's not the songs, it's that whole energy that you're feeling, and that connection that you have with the music and everyone else around you. It's really nice.
Yeah, I think, it is, of the live music I've gone out to see, especially when it's a duo or a solo act,
Mm-hmm.
It depends on how they're perceived, or the venue, whether they're background music or they're really they're engaging the audience. So I would imagine it's got to be a struggle when, okay, I'm the background guy, so you play for yourself, I guess, to a certain extent. But with a band, if you're just playing for yourself, then there's something wrong. You have to have that engagement,
right.
going
on.
on.
You brought up a good point too, is that when you're playing with the band, you do have to be very cognizant that you're playing as part of a group. It's not just you. And you got to find a way to fit in with what everyone else is playing, because if you're just trying to if you're just looking at your individual part and you're not trying to play with the music,
right,
it really can hurt that whole sound. And it's not, again, you're not getting that connection.
Right.
That you should be
and I tell you, that's one of my favorite things. When I go to see a live band, I'm kind of looking for the visual cues between the musicians, as far as, okay, Billy, you're taking the lead here, or
right.
No, we're gonna draw this out. It's going good. I saw a band at the Bayport Tavern, and it's a couple of different guys that play separately, and they're like the house band now. And they did a rendition of "Knocking on Heaven's Door" that was so unique, had a reggae beat to it in the middle, and then went jazzy at one point.
That's great.
And a lot of it was driven by the percussionist, the drummer, who kind of mixed, and they just flowed with it great. And those are the little gems, to your point about going out and seeing live music, that you're not going to get.
Right.
You know what? There's a point to tribute bands and playing some of the standards, whether it's Tequila Sunrise by the Eagles or what have you, that people want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
But what would kill me is to see, let's say, a famous artist to play it exactly the way they did it on the album. That would be almost like a disappointment. And I reminisce about seeing Jackson Browne when I was a kid. And forgive me, Jackson, at that time in your life, you weren't quite the entertainer. He just played the album and went off. And I was just like, wow, that's great songs, but I left me wanting some more, I wanted that impromptu.
Right. You want to feel like you're hearing something and seeing something special.
Unique, yeah.
And, and when a band goes that extra step to make it interesting for you, because it's not exactly the way you remember hearing the recorded version, I think that's great. I think that's what you paid your ticket for. That's why you came out
right.
to see live music, So yeah, I agree. That's fun.
So now with live vinyl, maybe I'm giving away the keys to the kingdom here. So you've been playing for a few years, although the COVID thing kind of threw a hiccup into things.
Yeah.
Do you guys get together and say, okay, we're going to lay this out? Or have you been playing with each other so long that you basically know what you're going to be doing when you go up to the next gig?
Well, usually we'll prepare the set list beforehand, so that everybody knows what the changes are going to be. And so yeah, it's usually a good idea to do that, because you also want to have a heads up, because sometimes we'll pull songs out that we haven't played in a while, and it's good to be able to say, oh, I better sit down and review this again to make sure that I know this, so I don't look too foolish on stage. But the thing is too, about playing live is, if you make a mistake, you also have to be able to roll with it and just figure out, oh, okay, he did that, all right, I'm going to change what I'm doing here so that fits. He started to go to another verse instead of the chorus. okay, we'll sing another verse. Let's do that.
Exactly.
And if if you're flexible like that, no one will really most audience members won't notice that, and they'll just enjoy themselves. But if you freak out about it, or you make a big deal, or you get mad at the person because they didn't do what they were supposed to play, it ruins that whole vibe.
Right.
So I think that's really important as a live band to be able to go with the flow. You need to change things up sometimes, and it's unexpected, but you just got to go with it.
That kind of ties into the we didn't plan this, into the title of the next song, "Get Things Right."
Yeah, I guess so in a way.
Tell us just a little bit about that song, and then we'll have our audience listen to it.
Yeah, I think "Get Things Right" is just about sort of readjusting yourself to maybe something just ended. Maybe it was a relationship, or maybe it was a job that you had, or maybe it was just a part of your chapter of your life that's over, and how you got to okay, maybe things didn't end so well, so now I need to sort of upright yourself again and get things right, to get to right. I need to grow now, and I need to figure out what the next steps are. So that's basically what it is.
Very good. All right, let's listen to "Get Things Right." We'll be right back after the song. Check it out, everyone. Hey, everybody, we're back with David Karp, And I spoke to Dave during the break. He's going to tell us everything you need to know to become a successful singer-songwriter and make millions of dollars on Spotify. Not.
Yeah. I'm still trying to figure that out.
You know what? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. What are you going to say?
It's so sad. It's like we're beholden, even with this podcast, to get on Spotify. I just switched to Anchor, which is owned by Spotify.
Right.
Because they allow me to do video for free, which is amazing. But the only way, a musician who's living on his art is really through playing lots of gigs and festivals and selling merch.
Yep.
I don't need, sorry guys, I don't need another mug, baseball hat, matchbook cover, cozy, but that's, I guess, if you want to support your artists.
Yeah. Touring and playing live is how you make money now as a musician, because you can't anymore selling records. It's, I think on Spotify, I think it's, I don't know if it's the same for all the artists, but I know that I'm pretty sure it's 0.003 cents for each stream you get. So you're talking about, I think if it's 1 million streams, you get $3,000. Like, I don't know if I have my math right.
It's funny when we put music up on Spotify or any of these platforms, and maybe that's why artists are attracted to getting on podcasts and exposing their music. It's almost like playing the lottery.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a chance. Maybe I'll just hit it and
yeah, you never know.
You never do know, who's listening to it or who it's going to strike or, who may pick up.
Well, it's what I like about Spotify is that you can actually see when you call up different artists, you can actually see how many monthly listeners they have and how many times a specific song has been streamed. And I just find it's amazing to me. I think Ed Sheeran's one of the big top numbers. He's got like billions of streams, literally billions of streams, which is like crazy. I can't even imagine,
Yeah, when you get on other people's playlists and stuff like that, or the AI of Spotify says, hey, if you like Ed Sheeran, you're going to like David Karp or what have you. It's
right.
It's kind of
I'd like to get on that AI log, whatever that is, that algorithm. I'd like to get on that one.
Yeah, Ed Sheeran's just an amazing guy. And if I was just talking to my wife, Debbie, the other day, we were listening to a song. It's like, can you imagine this guy was a very bad stutterer as a kid? And he's,
oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's very bad stutterer as a kid, and he overcame it, and look where he is now. And he reinvents himself. He's not kind of locked into pop or anything else. He has a bit of a rap vibe to his music and what have you. And he's friends with Taylor Swift, so there you go.
Right. I like how he seems to not take himself too seriously, which I think is really important as a musician, because if you do take yourself too seriously, I think you can run into a lot of trouble, psychologically speaking. I think you could really mess with your head.
Yeah.
But he was in a really interesting movie. Have you seen the movie Yesterday? I think it was called.
Oh,
Yesterday.
I know of it. That's where the Indian fella does all the Beatles tunes.
Yeah, he sort of blacks out one day and is in this freak accident, and no one remembers the Beatles, but he does.
Right.
He's re-releasing all these great Beatles songs, and everyone's like, "Wow, this is fantastic!" And Ed Sheeran was in that movie, and it was funny because he played himself. And I just thought that if you can do that, I feel like if you can do that as a musician, is play yourself, but you're also at the same time you can tell he didn't take himself too seriously. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Right, little self-effacing and about his own self. What's interesting too is, and of the artists that I've talked to, some are a little bit more intent about the genre that they play in. Okay, they categorize themselves, and then there are others who, I really don't like to call myself anything. What am I? The catch-all is Americana or alt country or post-punk, which I had a post-punk guy on, and my wife was like, "You're having a punk guy on, you're gonna have to hit that expletive thing." I said no, and it was great. It was just like street music. It was interesting, but.
Well, I like what Billy Joel said. I think it was Billy Joel who said, "There's only two kinds of music, good and bad." So basically saying, forget about all the genres. Either you like the music and it's good, or you don't like it and it's bad.
Yeah, I think it's comes to people. Some people like to have things in perpendicular and parallel lines, and they like categories because that's how they can sort it out in your mind.
Right.
And
Right. Well, I think that, it's a part of like, your identity is like, I like this kind of music. That's my identity,
right.
Especially as a kid, as a teenager. I mean, there's certain things like, dance songs I wouldn't even like bother listening to because that wasn't cool.
Right.
Now it's like, I love dance music. This is great. Gets people happy. They're dancing. I mean, this is fantastic. And I like playing it. But I would never have even considered really listening to that stuff when I was younger.
Yeah. It's a good example of that is the B-52s.
Oh yeah,
and I saw an interview with the group from the B-52s, and they weren't locked into a genre. They're like, all right, we're from Southern Alabama, and we play our music. That's it.
Yeah.
And now you can't go to a wedding and not hear Love Shack, which was created as a joke. And it's a great song.
Yeah,
I mean, everybody gets up and everybody knows the words, and they have a great time doing it. So
I remember when I was in high school, Rock Lobster was really a popular one of theirs too. Another great dance song.
So let me ask you this. So this is another left field question, and I don't know where they pop into my mind. How do you go from playing in a band early as a young man to becoming an entertainer? You know what I mean? I mean, you can be a musician, but then maybe you define it for me. What to you makes you a good entertainer? What are the skills?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think it goes back to what we were saying before. You do have to like pull down that wall between you and the audience. You need to make that connection. I think that's really important. And I think one of the best ways to do that is if you can get people to sing along. Like if you're in the middle of a song and you get to the chorus and you sort of start clapping your hands and you're encouraging the audience to sing along with you. That's an entertainer. That's someone who's getting everybody involved. And you're not just there, like you were saying, you're not like Jackson Browne just sitting there playing note for note every part of the song.
Right.
So, if you can, I like to, when I can, add a little humor to whenever I'm playing a gig, I'll like to crack a joke or I'll talk to somebody in the audience and, try to connect with them. I mean, that's a great thing to do, I think, because it makes everybody more comfortable and it just makes people more happy. And everyone, someone said to me, most people won't remember exactly what you said to them, but they will always remember how you made them feel. And that's really true. I think and I think it's the same with playing in bands or playing solo or whatever. Is people are going to remember how you made them feel. They're not going to remember if you screwed up a part or you sang a wrong verse or you dropped your pick or something like that. They're not going to remember that stuff.
Yeah. Now
you will, because you'll think like, oh, I screwed that up, but it's not important.
And what I find is now you're the lead singer in your group. Is I would say a lot of that, whether it's a front person, woman, man, a lot of that responsibility, because you're a focal point of that, to kind of bring it along. And I'll give you the negative side of it. I saw this a couple of times and it just kind of grinded my gears a bit. When you get interplay between musicians that alienate the crowd, when it becomes an inside conversation.
Oh, the inside joke going on.
Yeah. I'm not going to mention the group. I had seen a group. They were all related, blood related. And they had that camaraderie between them, but they almost like took it too far, to a point. It's like, oh, you having your party and we're guests here, just happen to be listening.
Right.
And maybe I was in a cranky mood because I'm old and I'm a cranky old guy, but I just kind of tuned into it.
I think some of that's okay. I mean, it's good to have. It's good. I think it's always for me as an audience member to see that the musicians are enjoying themselves and they're they're looking at each other and they're smiling at each other and maybe they're thinking something, or maybe they just actually have to tell somebody like, hey, we're going to make the change here, something like that. But I think you're right. You can go too far with that stuff. If you're not bringing everyone else into it, you're going to alienate them. And I think that's not good. Yeah. So that, and obviously it made you feel uncomfortable or unhappy. And so,
and you know what you feel like?
You definitely want to try to avoid that.
You feel like yesterday's friend, which brings me.
Yep.
I know that's corny. Brings me to the other song that you brought to the table, Yesterday's Friend.
Yeah. And I don't know if did you want me to explain this one? It's really not hard to figure out, but
David, I'm not going to explain it. I can't get into your head that early.
Yeah.
I just don't know.
But yeah, it's literally about, at the time when I wrote that, I was thinking about a friend of mine, or actually it was sort of a conglomeration of a few friends of mine who I had been friends with and been what I thought was good friends with, and then we just sort of drifted apart.
Yeah, the circles
and
change.
then, you know, maybe try to get together again. You make a phone call or you see each other, and then you drift apart again. And it's sort of, it's a little bittersweet, sad. It's you know, on the one hand, it's like, oh, it's too bad we didn't reconnect that well. I thought we were gonna try to be friends again and hang out, and then it just didn't happen. But you know, on the other hand, it's you should just be grateful that you had it at all, right? So, you know, some things just, you know, weren't meant to be forever. You know, they just end. They have, or sometimes they come back again. I guess, who knows? We'll see what happens. But that's what this song is about.
That makes me think about, have you ever gone through your life where, okay, you're great friends with Joe and great friends with Jim, and like, oh, these guys, how do they not know each other? They're just so much, and
Right.
you introduce them, and it's just, it ain't gonna work. There's, you know,
Right.
the chemistry is between you and them, not them and them. You know.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Sometimes, yeah, they think you're gonna hit it off, and it's just like, yeah, it's all right. But...
So I no longer play matchmaker ever.
Yeah. No, it's a dangerous game.
Yep,
That's a dangerous
absolutely.
game.
So, all right, let's listen to Yesterday's Friend. We'll be right back.
Last time I spoke with you was Tuesday. That's the day you said we'd talk today. I hadn't heard from you in a while, and I guess that nothing's really changed. Yesterday's friend, oh yeah. Yesterday's friend, oh yeah. I heard that you got that big promotion. I heard that you're doing pretty well. We said we'd get together for some coffee. I must have missed your call. It's hard to tell. Yesterday's friend, oh yeah. Yesterday's friend, oh yeah. Who really dropped the ball? I almost called you last fall. I don't know what to say. I know I won't see you today. Yesterday's friend, oh yeah. Yesterday's friend, oh yeah.
Hey, everybody, we're back with David Karp from Live Vinyl and some solo stuff that he does out there. And what's the website again, David, that they can find where you're playing?
Just go to livevinyllive.com. And that'll have all sorts of stuff up there. We got videos, we got upcoming dates we're playing. We're playing all over Long Island. And also like us on Facebook, because if you do that, then you'll get announcements that way too, as
and I assume
where we're playing next.
You have a way if people want to book you, they can go to that website as well.
Yep, go right through the website. It's probably the easiest way. And if anybody wants to contact me just for solo gigs, which I do too, you can go to DK. You can email me at dkoysterbay@gmail.com.
It's very easy to
remember. So it's just my initials, DK, Oyster Bay, like the town, and at gmail.com.
At Gmail. It's very easy to remember. Well, David, it's been a pleasure. I'm so glad to have you on the program. I wish you the most success in what you're doing. I look forward to meeting the rest of the band as we see you play in live vinyl. And
thank you.
And let's have a great 2023, because the past 2 years have been not so good. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It should be a really great spring, summer. I'm looking forward to playing outside again. So hopefully you can come see us soon.
All right, brother. Be well.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
Steve.
Take care.
Stay well. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate the time you spent with us. Please subscribe and comment, and visit us at gigdestiny.com. Till next time, be generous with your joy, keep your spirits high, and let the music take you on a journey. Be well. Peace.